Hi, my name is Kat, Reader Free Librarian, and welcome to a new reading vlog. This will be my final vlog for October. I have about a week left of October, so I am gonna hope, fingers crossed, that I could get to 3 books in this video. I don't know if that will be possible, but I'm gonna be hopeful. Because I feel like I haven't read that much in October overall, and I want, to read a bit more in the last week. So I've been doing TBR Harvest. My previous vlog was just like finishing some books that I already started. So, I didn't do any rules for that or anything. But for today, I would like to roll for TBR Harvest 3 times and then pick books, and then that'll be my TBR for the video. I'm not gonna really roll them as I go. I'll just try to pick them all 3 at once right now. Okay, first roll, a 3. Second roll, a 3 again. And third roll, a 5. So a 3, a 3, and a 5. So here is the board. So first I need a 3. So I could go 1, 2, 3, highly anticipated. 1, 2, 3, BOO in the title and or author. And 1, 2, 3, a pulpit from Harvest Elsewhere. I think I'm gonna do that. 1, 2, 3. Then we need another 3. So either 1, 2, 3, hot or cold. CAT and title or author, which is where you were. 1, 2, 3. New book on your radar. 1, 2, 3. Read 51% of the book at night. Or a series read with another poll pick. I think I'm gonna go for that. 1, 2, 3. And then I need 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Harvest Elsewhere with, well, it's technically seasonal, but I changed that to series, so that could be an option. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cozy or creepy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. New book on your radar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Series read with poll pick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Comfort genre. I think I'm just gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and go with a pumpkin here. That way we have 2 Harvest Elsewhere and 1 series read and then 2 poll picks. Okay, I picked my books, but I actually know what I want to read. So I just put stuff in there pro forma, but I definitely cheated there. But regardless, I picked 3 books for this video that I'm really excited for. So first was a Harvest Elsewhere with a poll pick. And for that, I went with The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. This is for the bingo prompt of favorite trope of a buzzword. This one has found family, which I really love. So yeah, I'm going to read this. I'm very excited to finally get to this. Then the second roll, I needed a series read. That is also a poll pick. So for that, I'm going to go with Fishes by P. Schwab, which is the October pick for the Interstellar Book Club. So I needed a way to squeeze this in. And, it is part of a series. So I'm going to go with it. So, yeah, excited. This has been on my TBR for quite a while now. So, yeah, happy to finally get to it. And then the final one was a Harvest Elsewhere from my TBR. For that, I go with my monthly TBR, so my October TBR. And for that I went with Delilah Green, Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake, which is on my October TBR. And for this I actually went to like the third activity sheet for TBR Harvest, because they have a cover prompt for every day for a book 200. Well, you can do it in different ways, but that's how I've been doing it, just finding a book every day with an item on the cover, and then I shared it in Discord, and that's how I've been participating in that. But for today, the prompt is like purple on the cover, and this cover is very purple. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. And those are the 3 books that I'm gonna read. I'm gonna start with Delilah Green, I think. Sort of read that during the weekend. So yeah, really excited for this. So this will be the first book that I read. I might actually have finished it by the time we talk, because I think this will be a pretty quick read. But I also think it'll be a pretty emotional read if Astrid Parker, which is the other book I read in this series, is any indication. But I'm excited. So yeah, talk to you later. Okay, so it's Saturday. It is raining outside, so the ambiance is perfect. I'm 150 pages into Delilah Green, Doesn't Care, and I'm having a fantastic time. I'm loving this. Like, all I want to do is read this book. So this is a contemporary romance. We're following Delilah Green, which is this one right here, and her stepsister Astrid is about to get married, and it's like 2 weeks of like pre-wedding activities because they're rich and extravagant, and then the wedding itself. And they have hired Delilah as a photographer there. Delilah doesn't want to go because she doesn't have a good bond with her stepsister and stepmother. But they're offering to pay her this huge amount of money, and she is broke. So she really needs the money, so she goes because of that. But the reason she didn't want to go, and she has, not a good bond with her step family, is so Delilah's parents have both passed away. So her mother had passed away when she was really young. Because of that, her dad remarried to Isabel. And then Delilah's father passed away as well. And so Delilah became under the care of Isabel because it was still a child. But Isabel always favored her own daughter, Astrid, and never really cared that much for Delilah. Like, she provided the material stuff, but never really the love and care and attention that a child needs. And so Delilah has felt very lonely her entire childhood, also because she didn't really have friends, and then whenever Astrid's friends came over, she felt really left out. And so basically she has felt her entire life as if no one really wanted her there. But so now she's going there for the wedding. But once again, she feels like no one really wanted her there. They just needed a photographer, right? But there she meets Claire, which is the other woman in purple, who, like, she knew Claire since she was a child because she was one of Astrid's best friends. And Delilah has had a crush on her since childhood, but never really acted on it because, as I said, she always felt really left out. She felt like they didn't really want her there. And so it's a bit uncomfortable, but, they have this little meetup at the bar where Claire comes up to Delilah, not recognizing her, just thinking, hey, this woman is pretty hot. and she starts flirting with her. And Delilah knows full well who Claire is, but she's like playing into it because she thinks it's kind of funny that this woman who used to like hate her is now like flirting with her because she doesn't know that they're the same person. And they just, like in like the wedding activities and stuff, they keep like having to spend time together because Claire is one of the bridesmaids. And so they're just super attracted to each other. And it's just, I love it. Also we have the groom is absolutely terrible. Horrible rich cis straight white man. So and Claire and Esther's other friend Iris really don't like him either. They're teaming up together to break up this wedding, to make sure this wedding doesn't happen because they don't want to see their friend unhappy, and Delilah is kind of there for pissing off Astrid's mother, who, has spent a lot of money on this and is like trying to create this picture perfect thing for like all people to see how like perfect this wedding is and how perfect this family. And Delilah is kind of there for like, yeah, I would like to piss her off by like having the wedding canceled last minute. So that's where I'm at right now. And yeah, I'm really liking it. I really feel for Delilah. Like, we truly feel like the loneliness. Now she still feels like she's being left out and now she doesn't want people to notice it. But she's still really, really hurt by what happened in her childhood, what is continuing to happening. And then we have like Claire's perspective, where we see that maybe, well, they weren't exactly like kind to Delilah, and they never like actively tried to involve Delilah and stuff. But I feel like they felt like she didn't like them either, and so maybe they could have done more, definitely, and it should have done more. But that Delilah's perspective might not be completely accurate. And I get the impression, I don't know yet, but I get the impression that Astrid only hired Delilah as a photographer because she wanted Delilah to be there, but she knew Delilah wouldn't come if it weren't for this money. But I think Astrid really wants a good bond with Delilah, but just doesn't know how to do that and how to express that and how to build that. So yeah, I'm really liking that. We also have Claire is a single mom, and we have some stuff with that, with her daughter Ruby, and how Ruby's father is sort of in and out of the picture as it suits him without really thinking of what it is doing emotionally to his daughter, and like really not taking proper responsibility. And Claire sort of, trying to do things in her daughter's best interest, but her daughter not necessarily seeing it because, her dad is a fun parent and Claire isn't the one who's always nagging and who's there with her rules and all that. And just how hard that position is to be in. And I think that is a lot of fun. I really liked that. we just have Spencer being absolutely terrible. Spencer being Astrid's fiance. And I think it's really funny how they're all like, we can't quite put our finger on what exactly it is he's doing. Like, he's never like done anything concrete to really say, oh, he's awful. It's just a buildup of little tiny things that just, you know, like, and he makes people feel really uncomfortable, or like at least Delilah, Astrid, and no, Delilah, Iris, and Claire. And how they see that like Astrid is becoming a completely different person when he's around. And yeah, I think that is very interesting. I think that the book is very well written as well. I quite like the writing style. It reads pretty smooth and is not too present most of the time, but still really fits, especially in Delilah's chapters, really fits Delilah. Because she quite, you know, she has some sass. She says what she thinks, especially here, because like she doesn't care about anyone there anyway, so like why would she bother to be polite? And so we see that kind of reflected in the writing as well, which I like. So yeah, I'm really liking it. They're also both pretty flawed characters. Like Delilah is kind of mean sometimes and pretty rude, and also in her thoughts, like she sort of, you know, this idea of being happy to ruin this wedding plans, essentially, not because she cares for Astrid's well-being, but well, I think deep down she also does. But also because just the idea of Isabel's reaction is funny to her. Like she's not a perfect character. She is kind of flawed. But I do like that, and I think it is clear that this just stems from a lot of pain and childhood trauma that she doesn't really know what to do with it. And just she doesn't know how to resolve this, and yeah, very interesting. Anyway, that was my update. I will talk to you later. Okay, so it is Sunday evening, and I have finished Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake, and I freaking love this. It was cute, it was beautiful, it was emotional, and I just love everything about it. So I already mentioned how Delilah has spent her life feeling lonely, and not feeling very wanted by her family and the people in this town. And I think the way that came together was very beautiful, and her finding out that both she and Astrid felt rejected and then did the you can fire me because I quit type of thing, thereby just hurting each other more and creating this vicious cycle. And I think the way that was done was very beautiful, and sort of them finally talking, like really talking for the first time in decades. And that was just beautiful to see, and them sort of healing through that and finding a way of, you know, moving forward, um, where they can try to mend this family that they have going on, which I thought was very, very beautifully done. Um, our may or may not have teared up a little at the end, um, because of it. So yeah, I really, really loved that.
and sort of Astrid being a pretty important character in this book as well, even though the romance is between Delilah and Claire. Um, just her finding her voice and finally finding the courage to do what she wants for once and not what her mother and society and just everyone else wants her to do and expects her to do. And yeah, I liked that journey like continues more in the second book in Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, which I've already read. And I really like that book as well. So I really love that. And then we have Claire's journey of motherhood. Like she's a single mom. Her daughter is 11, so like about to become a teenager. We have some things starting there. And her daughter is just, like the father is sort of coming into their lives every once in a while and then disappearing again, leaving Claire's daughter distraught in the process. And sort of Claire has to be there to mend the pieces, right? To pick up the pieces and try to be there for her daughter and comfort her. And then when the father does come back, then it's just such a special thing for her daughter, and sort of she wants to spend as much time with her dad and do fun stuff with her dad. And Claire is sort of trying to keep this sense of normalcy because she's like, this is not gonna last. And Ruby, the daughter, probably realized that it's not gonna last, and that's why she wants to make the most out of it every moment. And so then Claire becomes the boring, nagging rules parent. And it's just really hard, this sort of push and pull almost, where Ruby just, like keeps arguing with her and fighting with her in a heart that is for Claire, but she having to be there when things go wrong and knowing that they will go wrong, and just the fear of that. And yeah, I thought that was nice. And also her sort of always putting her daughter first, thereby forgetting to take care of herself. And throughout this book, sort of learning to trust other people to take care of her daughter for a day so Claire can take care of herself in the meantime. And we see this fear that I thought was really beautiful. And I'm not a mother, so like it's not relatable to me in a specific sense of motherhood, but like the general sentiment is kind of relatable to me. Sort of the fear that whenever her daughter is with someone else, like what if something would go wrong? But also, what if nothing goes wrong? And Claire was never needed in the first place and sacrificed so much for a daughter who never really needed her in the first place. And sort of the fear surrounding that, I thought was very well done and very, really touched me as well. So yeah, I just think this is a beautiful book that is also sad. Like it's not a happy fun time, but also I smiled my way through some of these scenes. It was incredibly beautiful, and just people healing from trauma, which is what I love in my romances. So yeah, I really, really loved Delilah Green Doesn't Care. Easy 5 stars. I'm now really excited to also read Iris Kelly Doesn't Date. Because Iris has a pretty strong personality, and I'm very excited to see how that plays out in the book. So, yeah, I really love this. I highly recommend the series if you have not read it already. It's fantastic. Okay, so, and then I started another book on a complete whim, like the hold came in from my library, and I was like, yes, please, I'm going to read to you right now, because I was really in the mood for it. And so I pretty impulsively picked up Long Live the Pumpkin Queen by Shae Ernshaw. This is sort of a sequel to The Nightmare Before Christmas, which I really like that movie. And we're following Sally. It picks up pretty much where the movie leaves off, or not long after that. It starts with Jack and Sally's wedding, and sort of Sally now becoming the Pumpkin Queen. The queen of Halloween Town. And we see her not really liking this role because she kind of feels inadequate, especially because they go, this is not a spoiler, it happens like very much at the beginning of the book. They go to Valentine's Town on their honeymoon, and they meet the queen there, and Sally can't help but think of how much more queen-like the Queen of Valentine's Town is, compared to her. And she feels really inadequate. She feels like she can't really take on this role. And also she doesn't really want it because she has spent her entire life sort of being a prisoner of Dr. Finkelstein. And then now, once again, she's sort of trapped in this particular role that is not who she necessarily wants to be, and people trying to impose their expectations, and their idea of how the Pumpkin Queen should be, rather than letting Sally like decide what she wants for herself, figure out who she is. And that is sort of what is going to happen in this book, I assume. We get to see more of the different holidays, because Sally ends up doing something, ends up unleashing something from another tree that leads to like another town world that sort of puts Halloween Town in danger, and like the other holidays as well. And she is the only one left who can try and save Halloween Town and the other holidays. And so we have her on her own, which is sort of a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, her first reaction is like this immense relief. Like, she can finally have some rest. There is no one who comes bothering her, comes making decisions for her. She finally gets to really be herself, find some rest, figure out what she wants to do. But also, it's immensely lonely, and sort of this is also not what she wants. And yeah, I think that is very well done. Sort of this idea of it's good because it takes away the things from your life, like your gifts in life that you're not really happy with, but also not really providing what you wanted from it. And it's sort of this idea of, yes, marrying Jack is what Sally wanted, and she wasn't happy before, um, but this has negative side effects too. And probably every possible life will have negative side effects, but it's sort of the question of what life is there where the positives outweigh the negatives the most, right? So I think that is going to be sort of a central message of the book, and sort of how do we find compromise in these things, and how do you find your identity if other people think they know you better than you do yourself. Um, so yeah, I'm liking it. It is definitely not a perfect book. I do have some issues. I think the writing style itself, sometimes there's like some sort of clunky repetition of words or parts of sentences, and I'm like, you could have rephrased this so that you didn't have to repeat this, or you just could have left one out without much problem. So I think they're, like in terms of like line editing and stuff, it could have been a little bit more, polished there. But I'm having a really good time with it. It is a pretty quick read as well. Like I'm already 50% and I only started it this afternoon. So, reads pretty quick. I might even finish it today, which reading a book in a day is not something I tend to do. It's not something that happens very often. So, like very quick read. And I am having a good time. So, yeah, that is my halfway update for this. I will talk to you probably tomorrow when I've finished Long Live the Pumpkin Queen. Okay, so it is Wednesday morning and I have quite a few updates for you. So on Sunday evening, I finished Long Live the Pumpkin Queen. In my previous update, I mentioned really enjoying it. Like, there were flaws, but I was having a good time. And for the most part, I still stand by that. I think this was a fun read. Not particularly memorable in any way. Like, I don't think that this will stick with me for super, super long, but I had fun with it. I really liked seeing some of the other realms, like we go from Halloween Town to some other, realms. One thing about it though, and I mean, the seven trees with like the seven holidays, they're the same as in The Nightmare Before Christmas, but in this, like, they actually like listed them, and I kind of, something started to bother me. So the 7 holidays are Halloween, sure. Christmas, sure. Easter, sure. Valentine's Day, sure. St. Patrick's Day, okay, fine. Thanksgiving, which is a bit more specific to the United States, but I'm like, okay, I'm fine with that. And then the 4th of July? I'm sorry, why? Like, I'd seen the fireworks in a movie, but like, my first association with fireworks is New Year's. So I thought that it was just New Year's. Um, but no, it's the 4th of July. Why is it so American? Why don't we have a Diwali town or a Hanukkah town? There's so many things that you could have done. So many holidays all over the world that are far more universal than the 4th of July. It's so odd, especially because you have St. Patrick's Day, which I really associate with Ireland. So, like, it could have been like, okay, this is just like the American holiday realm, and then there could be like different country holiday realms or whatever. But like, well, I don't get it. I don't get it. It bothered me. I didn't like it. um so yeah, that was a thing. But I can't really fault the book for that because they just, they had to do with the movie. Um but I never fully realized this thing because I never fully realized that the fireworks were supposed to be the 4th of July. But I did enjoy seeing the different realms, like, how they looked, how they functioned, what type of people live there. I thought that was a lot of fun. We also hear that there is realms that are not necessarily related to a specific holiday. So we got to see one of those. I think that in other books we get to see more of them. Like the second book in the series is called The Hour of the Pumpkin Queen. And there is one that was mentioned as like Father Time, like his realm. So I think we're going to explore that in that book. Which I really look forward to because that was something that I just found a lot of fun. So yeah. A certain thing was revealed in this book as well. That I didn't love. Um, and it was one of those cases where I thought I knew what was going on. I had a certain prediction, but then I ended up being wrong, except I like my version a lot better than what happened in here because I talked about like the themes of identity and finding who you are. And I think that those were just would have been a lot stronger if it hadn't happened the way it did. I will do a spoiler section where I go a little bit more detail about what happens. But for the spoiler-free part, I think that's where I'm gonna leave it. I didn't love that. And so yeah, at the end of it, I feel a little bit mixed on this book. I think if you're looking for like a quick, fun read that might give you some nostalgia vibes, I think that this could be a fun one to just read in an evening. But don't expect, and like go in just expecting a fun time. Not, a new favorite, maybe. I did look at some Goodreads reviews and see what people said, and I feel like most of the negative reviews in here talk about the writing being juvenile. And I'm like, you're reading a book that is essentially a sequel to The Nightmare Before Christmas, which is a Disney movie. Like, yes, adults can watch it too, and adults do watch it too, and it's still great for adults, but like, you know, it is kind of a kid's movie. Why are you surprised that a book version is also primarily targeted towards kids? So just putting it out there, it is like upper middle grade, lower YA. I would say, like, you know, like 13-year-old, something along there. I feel like that is the target audience, and if you keep that in mind, I think it's not a bad book. But yeah, I think I'm giving it 3.5 stars. So yeah, I would recommend for just a fun, quick read, but nothing much more than that. Okay, I'm gonna go into spoilers now. Skip this section if you don't want to be spoiled for this book. There'll be timestamps in the description. So the thing that happens is Sally opens the portal to Dreamtown, and there she meets her parents. They are the mayors of Dreamtown, because, you know, like, we have a lot of like stuffed animals, ragdolls, stuff like that in here. And also the Sandman, who's the bad guy in this movie. But Sally finds her parents, and I thought what was going to happen is that we're in Dreamtown, right? And we have Sally, who's just really lonely and really wants a family and to find who she is and to have answers. And so I thought that these two ragdolls were just an illusion created by Dreamtown because Sally dreamed of finding them, right? I feel like that would have made sense. But no, that wasn't the case. These people are actually Sally's parents, and Sally sort of finds her identity through that, which I think it would have been a lot stronger if Sally was dreaming of finding her parents, thinking that that would help her find her identity, but then it turns out to be an illusion, and then realize that she doesn't need that she can still find who she is without necessarily knowing who her parents are. And I do get that sort of the where do I come from is an important thing for people who are adopted, for example. Like, and I don't think that that is a bad thing in any way, but I just feel like it was a little bit too easy of a way out, where I feel like Sally herself didn't do a lot of the work. And I mean, she did some work, as long as she did nothing, but like, I feel like it was sort of finding her parents was sort of the thing that like magically made her realize who she is. And I wish that she could have done it more like completely on her own, if that makes sense. So that was my little, I didn't love that choice, but yeah. Spoiler section over. I read this book. I'm happy that I read it. But yeah, that's it. Also, I went to the bookstore yesterday because I had a gift card that was about to expire, and that would just be throwing away money, right? So I went to the bookstore. My initial plan was to go and buy Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. But then I saw that the book was 27 euros. 27? Are you kidding me? Like, there are books that are half that price. Right? So, like, for that money, I could buy two. So I was like, no. So I got two books because, I needed to get the amount that the gift card was, which I had to pay a little from my own money on top of the gift card, but that's fine. I got two books. So first I got The Silver Blood Promise by James Logan, which is the first book in a series that I've been really wanting to read. It's like really nice and floppy too, which is great. I know Cleo really, really loves this book, and I don't know, it sounds like a lot of fun. So I have this one, and then I also got Predatory Natures, which I hadn't heard of, but I saw it there and I liked the cover. This is by Amy Goldsmith. It's a horror book. I'm not really sure about the age range. It was in the YA section, but like the majority of the books in the YA section aren't YA, they're just TikTok books. And fantasy. Like it's YA books, TikTok books, and fantasy are all under like YA. So I don't know why. But whatever. But this is a horror book. It's like a plant horror. I think it is YA. Just reading a synopsis. We have our main character gets a summer job on this train, and there are these weird plants on the train. And now stuff goes from there. I'm really excited. I found that I quite like certain types of horror, and I think that this might be adjacent to that particular brand of horror that I haven't read a ton of it, but whenever I did, I really liked it. So I hope that this could be a great read as well. So those are two books that I add to my TBR. Well, I mean, the Silver Blood Promise was already like, I already was interested in the book and wanted to read it. I just didn't own it, and my library didn't have it either. So now I have a copy and I can read it, and I'm really happy with that. So yeah, those are the books. I have started The Long Way to a Small Increment. I am tabbing this book. Like, I don't know. Can you see that? I have tabs. I only have 3 so far. I'm a quarter of the way. No, not even. I don't know what percentage would be. 20-ish% of the way through. I'm liking it so far, but I'm gonna wait a little bit longer to do like a full update on this. But just so far I can say I'm having a fantastic time with this. I don't know why I waited so long to read this, because it's amazing. So yeah, I'm actually kind of happy with my tabs. Lately I haven't fully been happy with the way that I talk about books already for a little while. Like I wasn't, I felt like I didn't get everything out of it that I wanted to get out of it in terms of this channel. And then Ralph Blue Text did a few videos about the way people on BookTube talk about books, or like a lot of people talk about books, and sort of how that, like what he wishes people would do, and how he thinks like this is not very interesting and it's very surface level a lot of the time. And I was like, a lot of what he said I did agree with. Like not everything, but a lot of it I did agree with. And so it sort of made me look at what can I, like how can I take his points that I thought like, oh yeah, that's actually a good point, to sort of take them into my channel. And then I watched a bunch of videos by Elizabeth from the channel Plant-Based Bride. I've been subscribed to her channel and watching her channel for years. I think I started watching her in 2020, which was before she even started to book content. But I go through, in my YouTube watching, I sort of go through phases, because I'm subscribed to quite a few channels, because I think that a lot of different channels have a lot of different things to offer, and I like them all from time to time. But like I go through sort of phases where like I watch a lot of this and this and this channel, but like a couple other channels sort of fall to the wayside, and I'll save them in my watch later list because I do still wanna watch them, but it's just in the moment, like the thing that I'm in the mood for is more with the other channel, right? So Plant-Based Bride has been one of those channels that for a little while had been more like in the background, saving them in my watch later to watch it when that was a thing that I wanted, and sort of now that has become a thing that I wanted. So I've watched quite a few of her videos, sort of trying to catch up. And I've always really liked the way she talks about books and really admired that in her channel, especially in her vlogs. I really like the way she does that. So I want to integrate a bit more of the things I like about her into my channel and vlogs. So I hope you like it. But yeah, that was, yeah, if you don't follow Plant-Based Bride, you definitely should. She's great. I really admire her. I want to be her when I grow up. BookTube wise, I can't comment on other aspects of her life because I don't know her. But yeah, she's great. Love her. Love her channel. Okay, that was it. I have a little bit of time left before I have to leave for class, so I think I'm gonna read some more of The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. If I can get to page 100, that would be amazing. Okay, page 100 is right in the middle of a chapter. Oh, that chapter is long. Okay. And it's still oh, wow. It's still going. This is a long chapter. Okay, so the chapter that was already going on page 100 ends on page 135. That's a long chapter. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just noteworthy. But okay, I'm gonna get to reading and I'll talk to you once I've read a little bit more and I can make this like a full update thing. Okay, it's Sunday evening. I didn't do much reading over the weekend but I did get about 30% into The Long Way to a Small Inner Planet, so I thought, time for an update. I am really, really enjoying this. So in this book, we are following the crew of the Wayfarer, which is a spaceship. And the book starts with them getting a new crew member, a human named Rosemary, because there are also different alien species part of this crew. And they also get a new job, a pretty big job that will get them a lot of money and set them up pretty well. So they really want to take it, even though it's going to take very long and it's not, not easy. There's like some risks attached to it, but they have a lot of experience in their business. They make space tunnels for like fast space travel, and they're going to make a new tunnel to this new planet that got added to sort of the alliance of planets that they're part of, and so they have to make a tunnel to them. So that's what the book is about. And I'm really liking it so far. The crew got introduced very close together, so I thought that I would really struggle with mixing them up. But actually I'm not. Actually, they're all very distinct and thereby easy to tell apart, which I really like. So like the plot is, there is definitely plot, but the characters are more the focus in this, and I really, really like them. And well, we're already having like a bit of found family where Rosemary, the new crew member, gets, taken into the group. They're very, very welcoming. So yeah, I love a good found family always. And we're also having this society that is a lot more accepting in a lot of ways than our current society, but is still not perfect. And we still have issues with that, and I think that that is also a pretty big theme in this. And that is also what my tabs are for. So I currently have 3 kind of tabs going on. So I have this purpley, is it periwinkle? I know the periwinkle is a type of bluish, but I'm not sure what exactly it is. So is that what this says? I don't know. The blue purpley tab is for things to do with like the different species, interacting with one another, and any difficulties, issues, prejudices that may bring. So we have a couple times where people are like actually racist, well, speciesist, racist, essentially. But then there's also, especially at the beginning when Rosemary meets the crew members, that, like she is not like consciously being racist, or she is trying to be open, but also she hasn't really come into contact with a lot of alien species in her life. And so she knows things about them, but sort of actually meeting them and interacting with them in real life is very different from the theory. And sort of her having to get used to certain things, or for example, when she meets one of the other crew members, her first thought is like, okay, what do I know about this species? And she's like naming a couple things in her head, and then she's like, oh no, wait, now I'm just falling back on stereotypes. I shouldn't do that. Sort of having to like consciously think about that and realizing your biases in terms of that. So I really like the way that's handled. There are some other characters, not part of our main crew, but just some people that exist in this world that we learn about that are like actively racist. And I really love that it is not just from the humans to other species, but also the other way around. Because I think that for human authors, it is very easy to sort of see ourselves as the species that would be considered superior in this case. And I really love that it like goes in both directions. That like other species also are like, no, we don't want you mingling with humans because we need to keep our species pure, or some nonsense like that. So yeah, I really like that. And then we have the very like, where is it? Like the very in your face blue, which is for sort of technological advancements that are fairly commonplace in this world, and the way people look at them, think of them, interact with them, and sort of that in relation to things like ableism and stuff like that. And there's a couple of instances of like different things within that umbrella, so that's why there's a lot of them. But we have one of the crew members, Jenks, who has dwarfism. I'm pretty sure that is, as far as I know, the term that people with dwarfism prefer to be referred to with. But if that is not actually the case, and another term would be better, please correct me in the comments. But this one crew member who has dwarfism and it sort of is constantly being told that like, we can fix you, why didn't you just have like a genetic alteration done to fix it? Why are you, like, why are just, not changing this part about yourself? Where Jenks doesn't want that and is perfectly happy as he is. And I think that is a very interesting and very necessary conversation. Also, similarly, there is also this thing with AI and them getting like a body, and whether they want one or need one, because you're like these activists that say that AI should be able to get a body, but the AI don't necessarily want that themselves, and sort of this, activism that is like talking about a certain group that they don't belong to themselves, rather than letting the people that, you know, it's about do the talking themselves, sort of that idea, which I think is interesting. So yeah, I have one more tab, which is this like light blue, and that is something that I'm not loving in this book. It is sort of, we have a society that is a lot more queer norm than what we have, except so far there is a couple of things that have only been present in the non-human characters and that are also being sort of framed as something typical for that species. So, for example, we have the Andrus. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but they don't really use the word, and the way it's described is not fully clear, but there is I think that this is a species that, where like polyamory is very normal as the default. I'm not entirely sure, it's not super clear in that regard, but I think that is what it could refer to. And so that is also like the species that I said earlier, that like when Rosemary met them, she immediately went to stereotypes and to check herself with that. So it's when in the same section, like the stereotypes are about that, and I think that what they mean is like that polyamory is very normal for this species. And then you have another species that is, well, their biological sex changes and so are in a way gender fluid. It's not exactly the same, but it's sort of you know, like the way that they talk about it is like similar to that. And then there is another species that uses they them pronouns because they see themselves as multiple people, which is like the thing about them like viewing themselves as multiple people is very interesting and very cool. But these are three things that I don't know how to say this, and it's just that with certain queer identities, I noticed in the first place for asexuality, just because I know a little bit more about asexuality and asexual representation in media than other more, you know, like the more obscure queer identity. So not just like gay, lesbian, trans, because like, you know, those are more the mainstream queer. I don't like, you get what I mean, right? Sort of the lesser talked about queer identities. But I know for at least for asexuality that is a whole thing where in a lot of media the asexual character is an alien or a robot or in some other way like a non-human character, and that is very harmful because, you know, since in every bit of media that we have, well, not every but like, you know what I mean, the asexual character is non-human is sort of implicitly saying that if you are asexual, you're not fully human. So again, I don't know about these other identities, but I am always a little bit wary of speculative works where those types of identities are only found among the non-human characters and not the humans, and especially if they are described as like something typical for that particular species. I don't like that. And I mean, this book was written in 2015. So like, you know, but published in 2015. So written probably before that. So like, I get that. And I'm not saying that Becky Chambers specifically is wrong for this. But I do think that this is something that is sort of worth critiquing in media, that the way we deal with this is not ideal. And I mean, I still have 2/3 of the book left, right? Maybe there's going to be like a gender fluid human 20 pages from now that we are introduced to. That is definitely possible. So again, not making a full judgment, but I do want to point out that that is something that I've noticed and I don't like. But other than that, I'm having a fantastic time with this. I'm really, really loving this. I am enjoying every second of it. So yeah, I'm really happy to be reading this book. And yeah, that is what I'm going to do a little bit more of now. I'll talk to you when I have thoughts. Okay, I reached about 60% of the long way to a small angry planet, and I'm kind of struggling with this, and I'm so sad. Like, I am going back and forth between loving every sentence and then just being very annoyed at certain things. So, I mentioned the tabs I had going. This is what it looked like now. You may notice I've added two because I felt like the tabs that I had going were very thinky, like about themes and stuff like that. And so I added two more. They're more like feelings based. Well, actually, one big one, and then I had one thing that I wanted to tab but didn't really fit in any of the categories. So I have like one pink tab for sort of miscellaneous stuff. But I have the orange for just moments that gave me the warm fuzzies and characters just being wholesome and beautiful people. Because this book does make me smile a lot of the time, and like, you know, it just makes me happy, and that is the thing that I love about it. It's just so beautiful and wholesome, and these characters have this immense like love and respect and care for one another. It's not cozy in the sense that like it doesn't have stakes, because I feel like that is a meaning that we often attribute to cozy. Like, no, there's dangerous situations and they, you know, they're endangering their lives sometimes, and there is moments that there are like actual like big stakes to what they're doing. But it's cozy in the sense that they just have this beautiful found family here, and they're there for one another in every possible way, and even people that they meet along the way are just so kind and helping and beautiful towards them. And that is, I think that is mostly what the appeal of this book is. It's just people being wonderful to one another, even in a society that isn't perfect and that has issues, even in, you know, a world that is at war, even, you know, like even in circumstances that are hard for the people themselves, they still grant kindness and care and empathy to one another. And I think that that is just immensely beautiful. And that is the thing that I'm also loving about this. And just like these tiny little moments that like there is this, for example, there's this one character on the ship who doesn't really interact with the other people. And then there is one section where they're just sitting with the rest of the crew. Like they're not even really talking, just like sitting there and like this, just wanting company, even though you don't really aren't really like a social being person, and you don't really know what to talk about. You're not used to just chatting with people, but just wanting this company and just wanting to sit there with someone in silence. I thought that was very beautiful. It's, stuff like that. This little, like big things and little things that just feel so wholesome. Which I love. So that is great. Also, I had this thing. It's a conversation between Rosemary and a different character. And so we have the other character saying to Rosemary, "The universe is what we make of it. It's up to you to decide what part you will play. And what I see in you is a woman who has a clear idea of what she wants to be." Rosemary gave a short laugh. "Most days I wake up and have no idea what the hell I'm doing." He puffed his cheeks. "And I mean the practical details. Nobody ever figures those out. I mean the important thing. The thing I had to do too." He makes a clucking sound. He knew she wouldn't understand it, but it came naturally. The sort of sound a mother makes over a child learning to stand. "You're trying to be someone good." And I just feel like I kind of need to hear that sometimes. Like I am in, like, I'm a student, I'm in university, I'm currently doing a master's degree. It's my last year technically. I'm thinking of like adding more because I'm not ready to go to work yet. But sort of this idea of like, I don't know where I am in life. I don't know what I want to do in life. I don't know, like having to just go out in the world and like be an adult and do adult things. And I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And sort of think like, okay, yeah, maybe like the day-to-day stuff. Like I don't know like what direction in terms of like the practical stuff my life is heading, but like I know what type of person I want to be. And that is important. And yeah, I just like that moment. There are moments though that do immensely frustrate me, and I have touched on something adjacent in my previous update. I mentioned how like with queer identities we sort of have them as part of another species. I noticed the same thing with a bunch of like cultural things, that they're assigned to species, and I really don't like that. I feel like it's not necessarily this book. I feel like this type of sci-fi does that sometimes. And maybe that's the reason why I don't read a ton of space sci-fi in this sense, because it just really annoys me, because we have a certain point where it is mentioned that all life, the different species, originate on planets of like similar size. And yes, okay, we don't have like evidence that this species necessarily spread out over the entire planet, so it's possible that they were confined to a little piece, but it just, even though it's technically possible, it just seems very unbelievable to me that they would not, like, that would spread out over the entire galaxy, but not over their planet, and not, and so that their culture would stay exactly the same. And one note that they would not involve that even after they spread out in the galaxy, that like on different like planets and moons that they've now settled, different cultures don't start emerging. And it just it bothers me because it has one of two implications. Either it means that humans are the only species that change culturally and are able to develop different cultures among them, which I just don't believe. Or it means that humans don't change and don't have different cultures among them and have just one giant human culture. But then what is that culture? Like, I believe Becky Chambers is British. I need to check that. But like, is it just like British culture that is supposed to be universal then? Which just feels very Anglo-centric to me, and I really don't like that. And sort of there was one moment that seems small but really annoyed me. So it's actually a little before, like part of the same conversation that the quote I just read. So this other person says something very sad and tragic, and then Rosemary's hand went to her mouth. "I'm sorry," she said. "Such a quintessentially human thing, to express sorrow through apology." Except it's not a quintessentially human thing. It's actually very much like an English thing. Like, I only know a handful of languages. There's plenty that I have not the first clue of. But I can't think of any language that I know outside of English that does this. I mean, to my knowledge at least. Like, I can think of like circumstances where sort of you're the messenger of bad news, and so you kind of apologize even though like it's not necessarily your fault, but like you're sort of the direct cause of someone's distress, right? So I think that it makes more sense to be like a genuine like apology for that, and it's more like apology adjacent. But just like this random, you hear that someone else has gone through something bad and you like say "I'm sorry" as a way of like, you know, I empathize with you. I've only seen it in an English context. And like to frame it as a universal thing is again very Anglo-centric to me. And that is just my problem with this. We're framing we're framing certain things as quintessentially human that aren't universal at all, which sort of implies that anyone who, you know, lives in a culture, speaks a language where we don't do that, does that mean they aren't human? That's just so weird. And that is my problem with books like these. Like framing culture as species specific, not culture specific. And also not having this blending of cultures that very much happens in real life. Like, it makes no sense to me. Like, I get that certain biological things are more compatible with certain cultural things. Like, for example, the Andrisk way of like parenting and family structure and stuff sort of works better for a species who lays eggs like the Andrisk than for like it would for humans, for example. Right? So I get that biology can have an impact on culture, but this very essentialist almost, like, just, I really hate it. And like, that is my problem with this book, because I have these parts that, like, feelings wise is just very wholesome and beautiful and I love it, but it has some problematic things to it if you think about the implications of a lot of things in here for a little bit. And especially in a book where the themes are so heavily on accepting other cultures and other norms and values, where neither one of them is less than another. Why are we doing this? It's sort of, thematically, it sort of contradicts itself, in my opinion. Right? So yeah, it's frustrating because some parts, when it's good, it's so good. But then it'll throw in something that just, and a lot of these things don't need to be there. And there's certain instances where, like, I can sort of get it, in the sense that, you know, it's one character sort of making generalizations of, how can I say this? Like, they're specifically talking in reference to specific characters, and so they can, like, that they sort of make, oh, I don't know how to say it properly. Like, they're saying things about, like, this is a human trait, but they clearly have, like, specific people in mind. And so I can sort of get it that, like, if they're from a different species and have someone specific in mind, that they would, you know, make, like, a certain generalization based on stereotypes sometimes. But the things mentioned in here aren't, like, what stereotype would it be to, like, say I'm sorry if you're just expressing empathy? Or, like, there's also a thing about, like, the way that they pronounce their R's. Yes, it's technically possible that all crew members happen to speak like the language where their R's are pronounced in a certain way, and have not learned another language where, or not learned to pronounce their R's in a different way. But, like, do you know how many different ways there are to pronounce an R? It's like, if you go to, like, classifications of consonants, that feels right. Consonant? Yeah, that's the word. There's, like, a whole category that is just made up of all sorts of different R's. So, like, it's not humans who pronounce their R's a certain way. It's certain language that pronounces their R's a certain way. And I just don't believe that only one language would survive and everyone would just speak it all over the galaxy. I just don't. So, yeah. That is my, those are my thoughts about the book at this point. I'll continue reading. I have a little under 150 pages left, and I need to return this book to the library tomorrow because it's due tomorrow. So I'm gonna get going with this, and I'll talk to you once I finished. But if I no longer have the book by then, it's because I already returned it. Okay, it is Friday. I have finished The Long Way to a Smaller Planet yesterday. I also returned it to the library because it was due yesterday, so I don't have my copy anymore. But I finished it, and my mixed feelings still stand. So I feel kind of bummed. Like, I was so excited for this book. I thought it was going to be a new favorite. I thought I was going to love it. And the thing that I thought I would love it, I still did. I really liked the character-driven story with the found family. And just, yeah, these characters are fantastic. I love them all. I love their dynamics. So that is great. And that also makes it more sad that thematically, I just don't think it was very consistent. It feels a little hypocritical to portray the ethnocentrism that was in the book while also sort of preaching for acceptance and embracing differences, and like that not one culture is better than another, and yet we're presenting Western American culture. I think I said she was British in a previous update. That's not right, she's American. Culture as universally human, quintessentially human was the word that was even used at one point, while the traits described are not at all universal. And that really rubbed me the wrong way and was really frustrating to me. So, yeah, I feel mixed. I looked at some Goodreads reviews. Most of the negative reviews were just people finding it boring and people wanting more action or battles or whatever. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think that is what this book is doing. It is a very character-driven story. There isn't a whole ton of plot. It's just they're on their way to the titular small angry planet, and they encounter things along the way. And it's not like nothing happens and there isn't stakes. It's not just them having conversations like people sometimes say it is. Like there are times where they're in danger, but it's not supposed to be an action book. It's trying to be like a character. It's how these characters navigate the situation and how they interact with each other and with outsiders. So that's not my complaint. But heads up, if you want a very like action-packed, plot-driven book, then this won't be the one for you. Be prepared for something that feels more episodic and fragmented, because we just have these different things that happen while they are on their way. In that regard, it kind of reminds me of Do You Dream of Terror 2 by Temi O. You also there have just these characters living together on this spaceship while they're going to a place, and it's not necessarily about action and whatever. So yeah, I feel very conflicted. I keep going back and forth between liking and not liking the book. Which is just so sad. And yeah. Also, I don't like, it's a very popular book. I generally don't like disliking things. And then especially if it's such a beloved book, I'm just sad that I can't, also find the magic. Well, I did kind of find it, but that it was sort of tainted for me by the thematic things I mentioned. So that was my thoughts. I'm not going to make it much longer because I'm just going to repeat myself. And this video is already long enough. Apologies for that. As I already mentioned earlier, I'm still sort of looking for how I want to review books, how I want to talk about books. So constructive feedback is welcome, if you have any. But yeah, in the intro, I said I would also read Vicious. I also had to return Vicious to the library before I was able to read it, so that won't happen, unfortunately. But I'll read it at another time. I think I'm happy with what I read. I read 3 books. So if I were to rank the 3 books I read, I would put Delilah Green at the top. Easy. No questions. This was just so great and beautiful and well written, and just no notes. I highly recommend it. It's an amazing book. Really beautiful, really sad at times, but beautiful. So Delilah Green at the top. And then I think I would put Long Live the Pumpkin Queen on number 2. Like, it's not aiming for the Nobel Prize for Literature, right? It just wants to be a fun, quick, nostalgia-filled read. And I think it achieves that pretty well, even though there are parts of it that I would have liked to see differently. I think that it knows what it wants to do and does that well, which for me, I think that is the definition of a good book for me. It knows what it wants to do when it does that thing well. So while I personally have some qualms with it, while it is not going to be a new favorite, I didn't expect it to be. And I think that, it's a good version of what it is. So I'll put that in second spot, and then I'll put The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet in third place, which makes me sad. But yeah, I just, as I mentioned, I loved Elements. I loved the characters, but I think that thematically, it didn't really practice what it preaches, which I find immensely frustrating in general when people do that. So yeah, that is my ranking. That is the video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them, and I will talk to you again in the video.